layout in Qt Designer can be difficult, which is why I'll focus on exactly that in this episode. So let's add a search dialog to our editor. So edit search should bring up this dialog. What I'll do, I'll go over here to my Qt Creator, press Ctrl-N for new. And this time I'll go down and choose Qt. I'll choose Qt Designer Form class. Did you get the class part? That's because if I just choose Qt Designer Form, then I'll only get the UI file, but I want the H file and the CPP file together with it. So Qt Designer Form class, yes please. I can choose from a template here, and I can even create my own templates. What I can choose is a dialog with buttons at the bottom, the right, no buttons, a main window. I don't know when I would have more than one main window in my application. I already got one, so likely not very often. And then widget, if I'm just creating something that's supposed to go into others, then I might choose widget. But let's just go with the dialog buttons without anything. And this stuff here, let's just skip that. What should it be called? Well, it should be called search dialog. And you can see it will fill out the header file and source file, and whether they will be capital S and D or whether it's going to be search dialog.h with lowercase s and d can be configured inside of Qt Creator, the UI file here, and it goes into the directory that I've chosen. That's all good. It should be added to project editor. Let's just see how that plays out. Spoiler alert, not very good. And it should go into my Git, and you can see down here, these are the files that's going to be added: search dialog, HCPP, and UI. Finished. Let's just go straight to our CMake file, CMake list.txt. It's over here, and you can see that it actually added it. That's a new feature in C++, not C++, in Qt Creator 11, but they added it to my executable here, which is not necessarily that smart given that I have my projects being specified up here, and I also have my project, this project sources here that it generated for me. You can see that's also that's where it added it, but it's also, if I'm Android, then add to shared library, and if I'm otherwise, so no, I need to go in here and fix it up, but that's not a big deal. My search dialog.ui, got that ready now, and let's just remember the keystroke from the previous episode, Shift F4 to go to my CPP file. You can see it's the same pattern as we saw before. UI, setup UI, this, and we're creating UI search dialog here into the instance called UI, and that one is created over here. So same thing as previous episode. We have these two files, the header file and CPP files, set up for us, which makes it slightly easier. There is an alternative to Qt Widgets, called QML. And if that's of interest to you, maybe starting out with a training is not a bad idea. But if you already know QML, then we also have you covered. We do have both introduction and advanced QML trainings. Okay, it's time to actually fill my dialog. In my Qt Creator, I just press escape once to make this go away and get just a wee little bit more screen space. In my Qt Creator, I have all my widgets over here in the sidebar. And what I want is to find the label down here. I can do like this and find the label here, drag it over, and that label will be called search for. That's what I'm going to search for. And then I want the text to search for. That's a Q line edit. My eyes just dropped on it up here. But sometimes I'll just go to the filter here. I know that it's a line edit. Yes, that's the line edit that I have here. So now I got it in. Remember from the previous episode that the object names here, line edit is what I will access in my C++ code. So better call it something more reasonable like this. I could double click on it, but that would make it go into edit mode. I can double click on this one, also edit. So some of them I can double click on to edit the object name, but otherwise go over here and change the object name. Let's also add some options here while we're at it. So the options group box, there we are, and drag that in, resize that a bit, and say options. And now we'll take a few checkboxes in here. Let's just get them in like this. And as regular expression, age sensitive, and finally whole words. It doesn't look all that good yet, and obviously I haven't given them good names, and you can see over here why I want checkbox underscore 2, checkbox underscore 3. If I access that in C++ code, then that is not going to be very useful, so better have this one here called whole words. This one here, that's the case sensitive, and I bet you that the last one is, last one here is as regular expression. There we are. Good. The label, I didn't rename that, but that's okay because I'm never going to edit that from C++ code, so that's cool. I also want a few push button here. I want a push button to do search, and likely a push button for close. And see, it's pretty easy to set this up. I'll challenge you to try and create this user interface in regular C++. I could have done that in my search dialog.cpp file. Let's create this user interface. I would new up a Q checkbox, a Q checkbox, a Q checkbox, a Q button group, a Q lineage, a Q label, and 2 Q push buttons here, and I would set them into a layout, but it would still be quite a bit of time, and I wouldn't have the visual feedback on what does it look like. Okay, we need some layouts on this. So the first one I want is that I want these 3 here laid out in a a vertical layout manager, things stacked on top of each other. So I can select them here. No, I can't. Because as soon as I press down the mouse cursor here, I actually select this whole group box, and see I'm moving it around. So I need to select them, this one, and this one. And what you couldn't see was that this finger here was actually in action. Let me do it again here. Select this one, and now this finger in action, control down, and this one, and this one. And now I've selected them all. My layout managers are sitting up here. Here's a horizontal, a vertical, a grid, a form. Form, that's a layout manager where you just have 2 columns, and it really is just about where the left column, does it align to the left or to the right? That depends on whether you are on Mac OS or on Windows, and I cannot remember which aligns to which. And then we have the here we have the splitter, which allows you to change the size of your layout by just dragging a splitter around. But that's your layout managers that you have here. And I want the vertical one, so that's what we have here. Wrong. Can I get a big horn in here from production? Yeah, oh, that was big. Thank you very much. It is wrong what I just did there, because observe now, I will take and press the left mouse button on this thing here, and I can move it around. And that means that what I really have, the thing inside that red box, is a hidden widget that you didn't see. But that hidden widget, it is created with the layout manager on it, and the layout manager has these 3. So that is wrong. What I need to do is break the layout again. I need to choose this widget here and say that this widget should have a layout manager that is a horizontal one. And now, as you can see over here, my group box has 3 children, and these are laid out horizontally like this. Okay. Next, I want these 2 here to go next to each other. And this time I actually will do that I just select the 2 and then right click. And now you can see they move around, but that's cool because I don't want the whole layout of the dialog here to be just these 2. I also want these two down here. So drag them here, put them together. That's cool. And now I could do exactly the same mistake as I did before. I could say, okay, let's take all of these. And what it basically meant that is that this layout manager here, this widget with a built-in layout manager, and this layout manager here, I'll select these three. And if I say go together, then they will be laid out, but they'll still be laid out. And if I go Alt-Shift-R, you can see that it looks nicely laid out. But when I start resizing my window here, it doesn't resize the content of that window. So undo that. There we are. What I need again is to put a layout manager on the topmost widget. That is the search dialog up here. And there's even a visual indication to you here that there is no layout manager for this widget here. It's a QDialog, but a QDialog is a subclass of QWidget. There is no layout manager for that. So I choose this one, and now I say, okay, put a horizontal layout manager on that. And now if I go run, you'll notice that search, and it looks all good, and I can resize, and yeah, well, it looks all good-ish. It doesn't look that good that these move. So that's aside from each other, at least I don't like that very much. I would rather have just empty space down here. And it doesn't look all that good either, that my close button is so wide, and my search button, I want it, as I did originally, I want them to push over to the side. And how do I do that? Well, I do that using these spaces up here. Take this one, drag it in, I push it, put it there. You notice the blue pixels highlighting here just to the left of the close button. That's where it'll be put. And now you can see this spacer here is pushing these two over. So Alt-Shift-R again, and now they are pushed all the way over. And similar, when I resize the dialog here, resize the dialog. Well, actually in here, Qt Creator or Qt Designer got slightly confused because it should, as in the review here, in the preview, it should show you that this is the widget that get all the extra space. But what I want again is to have, I could either go and say, let's put it here. Notice the blue lines goes all the way over to the edge. I cannot both point and drag here. So you'll notice that the blue line goes all the way to the edge. And if I do that, you can see it pushes this up. And when I resize it, I get just the empty space here. Or I can take it and drag it and put it inside of the dialog there, or inside of the Q group box, as you can see here. And now that one is being pushed up. And at this time you're saying, well, yes, but that's just silly that you started up like this. And you're right, I should make it small. I should actually make it go so small that it doesn't take any extra space. But do observe there is some space down here. Maybe, maybe not. It's not easy to see on the eye, but I can tell you that we actually did not get that extra space. But in any case, this spacer in here, I can give it, if I look at the configuration over here, I can give it a default height of 0 and a default width of 0. It doesn't change anything here because it will be, it will show you that, well, the size of the dialog will force this one to take the extra space. You can still see it here. But it might make a difference when I take the dialog and I shrink it down. And I'll show you in just a minute a trick with these spacers. Now we have the dialog in a more reasonable height. And how about a more reasonable width that looks like this? Well, what I could have done when I have something I've been playing with and now I just want it in a reasonable, I could take down here and just resize it, or I can go up here, this button here saying adjust size like this. Now it's in a reasonable size. And what does reasonable size mean? Well, that's the size hint of each of the widgets. And you notice here that I can actually make it smaller. But when the user interface, and maybe it's this one down here that actually makes it wider. Let's try and make it 0 here and ask it to take this whole thing. And now you can see that it actually got much smaller than before, because I can't even make it small because my original one said that, hey, this one should have this one here should have a width, a preferred width of 40 pixels. You can make it 400 so it's more obvious. It is forced to this size, the dialog, but as soon as I say, okay, let's get to a preferred size, it will get its preferred size too. It is somewhat unusual that it's the spacers in here that actually end up deciding what the size of the dialog, either horizontally or vertically, should be. But usually you have more complex user interface. And then the line edit here would come and say, well, you know what? If you can give me space enough so I can show like 10 characters, then I would like that. But that's all for next module that we're going to talk about and which we're going to release in a month's time. So let's not get ahead of ourselves in all of that right now. I know that I lost 98% of you in the last bit here because your mental energy was all captured up in what regular expression engine are you referring to, Jesper? You told us that you have as regular expression, but which one? So let's clear that up. I'll drag in a radio button here. I'll drag in another radio button here, and now I definitely need to go and resize this to a better size. So resize to size in here, and this one would be Seed, or it would be Perl. You don't know what Seed and Perl is. That's because you're not as old as me. And oh, that doesn't look all that good, does it? Well, okay. Let's take and drag in a group box. If I can find that, here's a group box, and I will give it engine. And now let me take my Seed and put that into the engine, and Perl and put that into the engine. My engine needs to have a layout manager. There we are. Again, I need to resize it to something more reasonable. So let's just resize the whole thing a bit more here. Perl Seed, that looks good. That's regular expression, the engine Perl Seed. And one thing that I have learned to discuss over the years is boxes inside boxes, inside boxes, inside boxes. Because you can see there's a box here for the options, and inside there's another box for the engine. And yes, it does, but it's also a lot of noise visually. So what I prefer is actually just having them out here as before, and screw that engine because it's obvious that we're talking about the engine. Then I just want a bit of space in front of them. And how do I get that extra space? Well, for that, I need to have a layout manager. And that's where, if you played with Qt Designer already, your cursor is now starting to go up here. It's starting and moving, and you're starting to get that feeling in your stomach like, oh, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate everything about this, because now I need to break the layout, and then I need to go in here and break this layout too. And now that I've broken the layout, I can start moving them over here a bit, and then I can take a space and put that in here. These two next to each other, and these two next to each other, and a spacer here, and then I'll put those into a layout. I can put those into a layout. I can put the whole thing into a layout, and take that whole thing and put that into a layout. And the trick here, by the way, with the spacers is that instead of saying that they should be expanding, I can say that they are fixed, and that their fixed size, well, 40, that seems like a pretty good deal to me. Fixed, there we are. And now when I review, you can see that they are added a bit in here. But here's to the rescue. You do not need to go and break all the layouts. So let's undo the whole thing here of breaking the layouts. What I really wanted was to have a layout manager in here. And for that purpose, I can take these few up here. That's actually widgets with built-in layout manager. So I can take my horizontal layout, I can drag it in here. Now I have a widget here with a horizontal layout manager. Just take my Perl and drag it and put it into there. You can see it's highlighted in blue, and oops, it's highlighted. Oops, it's, oh, come on, for the love of your creator. Why is that so difficult? I don't know. I can never hit. I don't know if it doesn't allow me to hit it at all or what's up with that. What I can do is now I can take this layout manager. That's easy to pick. That's the one we have over here. Remember, horizontal layout there, and I'll take my Perl. Oh, it's still highlighted. That's nice. I'll just drop it over here, and there we are. And another horizontal layout manager. Take that one, drop it over there, and it's in there. I'll take my two facials here, one there, one there. And the trick that, trust me, I learned yesterday, that I can actually select both of them, and I can go down here and I can change it to be not horizontal, change it to be fixed, and let's make that just 20, Alt-Shift-R, and they are nicely indented, just without all the extra space. I say that's nice. One thing that is missing. Which one is selected here now? Well, I need to go and make one of them. Come on. I need to go and find, scroll down, Q abstract button. One of them needs to be checked. Otherwise, your users will likely be confused. The last thing we're missing now is to actually bring up this dialog. So that's actually a good recap of what we saw yesterday. So let's go here, the dialog. Let's give it a bit better size here. This seems like good size. And now we need to go and find the main window.cpu node, main window.ui. And over here, we'll now add a edit and search. There we are. And it's called action urge. I'll bet you it says action search. So we'll go to our CPP file now, Shift F4 to go there. Connect UI pointer action. Haven't found about that yet. Action search, comma, Q action colon triggered, comma this, comma on blah 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 main window search. Take that one here. You go down here and say void main window. I'm just showing off search. Of course, what I also can do down here is Alt Enter. Come on, that used to work. Oh well, I need to have that. It used to work that as I can create the user interface or the implementation from the header file. Remember, well, obviously it won't anymore because, come on, go away. So I can show it. This add definition main.cpp. Somehow it's also possible to go the other way around, but never mind. It was called search dialog. Just go and see search dialog.h. You can see that's the class here. It's a Q dialog. That's fine. Search dialog, need to include it. Alt enter here, add include file, and got included up there. Nice. And then dialog.exec. That will bring up the dialog. It will block the user interface, which is absolutely not what I would recommend. I would show it up instead, but we'll talk about that in the next module, namely the difference between showing and execing a dialog. Let's just run it so we can get over with it and get on with our life. Edit, search. Here is my search dialog. Jesper, you told us that you were entirely done. I can see one thing missing here, namely that the Perl and C radio buttons shouldn't even be enabled when the as regular expression checkbox isn't checked, because they only make sense. And yes, you are entirely right. But that is for next episode. I will review 2 different ways that you can connect your signal slot. We've seen now a couple of times that you connect them as regular signal slot connections in your CPP file, but there's 2 other ways that you can hook them up. One of them, do never ever go there. I'm only showing you so that you know not to, and the other makes sense sometimes. But that's for next episode. Until then, have a great time.